I am haunted by this one hot night in the middle of July of 2014. Shirt off, sweating, scrolling through the internet on Bandcamp. And in one of my countless visits on Modern Baseball's page to listen to the record Sports and You're Gonna Miss It All, I had scrolled down their page and found a split EP they did called Couples Therapy with a band named Marietta.
What, so I gotta sit here and eat dessert alone like I'm fucking Steven Glansberg?
That sample quote from Superbad, the crash of the snare, the fast jabs of those jazzy guitar riffs, and that nasty guitar diddle, the whiny out-of-key singing, the lyrics drenched in sadness, and the way I could never keep a pace with the track because the rhythm kept changing. I've heard of all these motifs in music before, but I've never heard it like this, because this was my first time listening to the genre known as Midwest Emo. The word emo is used a lot in music culture, but for the sake of brevity and avoiding a cringy diatribe about the different types and applications of emo, I'm going to give the definition of the genre that applies to Marietta. Midwest emo, sometimes referred to as twinkle emo, is a subgenre of indie rock. Mix equal parts open tunings, odd time signatures, and the jazz-inspired arpeggios of math rock. Throw in some angsty post-hardcore vocals with some nonsensical lyrics about emotional instability, and then you have a slapping late-night sad boy YouTube mixtape for your next breakup. Ayo! Look, you can call me overdramatic, but the night when I first heard Marietta replays in my head often. And it's because they changed the way I listen to music and play guitar. I'm sleeping in, wait for Joe. I'm sleeping in. I've grown up listening to this brand of alt and indie rock, to expressive and depressively themed music. These artists are inspirations to me. Christ's sake, SoCore Amaretto Line by Brand New is the whole reason I decided to bother picking up a guitar. Yet when I would go and write my own music, there was something lacking. I had a very limited understanding of music, and relatively still do. The feeling of being young, lost, driving in a wave of melancholy through a sunset was how I wanted to write, how I wanted my music to sound. These artists are incredible, but I suppose looking back, they just weren't the right muse for me. Until I found this band, and this genre of music I had never heard anything like before, and yet I had been searching for it all along. Marietta isn't some super popular band that changed the music industry as a whole, but to me and a lot of other fans who love this particular genre of music, they're unforgettable. When I started listening to this record from an analytical standpoint, I realized it had a much deeper meaning than what I had originally thought. Either I'm adding meaning to nothing, or I'm pointing out the obvious. I just really wanted to share my thoughts and interpretations on it. I love this band, and I really hope I do them justice. They've profoundly affected me, and I hope you guys like it. If you've never heard of them, I really suggest you listen to them. And as a warning, I'll be talking a lot about depression and mental health in this video. So, back to the video. Marietta is comprised of Ethan and Evan on both guitar and vocals, Ben on bass, and Andrew on drums. Because of how small of an indie band Marietta was, I can't really share much in the history as to how the band met or started. But what's important is they are from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a place I like to call a Twinkle Daddy capital of the world for being largely responsible for turning out a lot of notable Midwest emo revival bands in the past decade, like Algernon Cadwallader, Snowing, Glockamora, Max Seal, and Jank. This is also where they met their famous friends they did that split EP with that I mentioned earlier. As being a fan of both bands, I considered it an Easter egg that you can spot Ben in the music video for The Weeknd, or Brendan wearing a Marietta shirt in the Rock Bottom video. There's also an ancient video of Brendan and Jake playing It's Cold Out Here where Ben, Evan, Andrew, and Ethan are all singing the outro together with them. Every time I watch this video of this big group of friends made up of two great bands that would break up, my heart melts and breaks at the same time. Oh, yeah, spoiler, they broke up. More on that later. Just for some history on their discography, on February 17th, 2012, they released their first demo on Bandcamp, which featured songs they'd re-record for later releases. As a side note, I somehow avoided this demo until a few months after their breakup, and I remember I got really my bag about listening to the demo of United Away because that wasn't re-recorded until As It Were came out 3 years later, 4 months before they broke up. Jesus Christ, I'm over sentimental. Of course, 3 months later, on May 11th, 2012, they would release fan favorite Yeah Yeah Utah and my personal favorite Green Collar Sims on Couples Therapy. And finally, 1 year later, on May 6th, 2013, they released OK Mom. And that song is depressing as shit. I have been waiting for this. With the help of their audio engineering friend Eric Muth, Marietta produced their first full-length LP, Summer Death, at the Drexel University in Philadelphia, which will be released on October 21st, 2013. It's the soundtrack from the nostalgic, emotional emptiness that seasonal depression brings. All of the music that Marietta had released thus far had a very garage punk feel, but this record is where they really came into their own.
Commercially and artistically.
As a note, I'm going to go forward with the assumption that the lyrics on the record are sung by their writers. With that in mind, Ethan and Evan, much like Jake and Brendan from Modern Baseball, have very distinct ways of writing and vocal delivery. Even the music complements their styles. Evan's voice is high-pitched and loud with his cut and dry, confused lyrics, which is matched with a lot of upbeat instrumentation, while Ethan has a very soft and timid voice that gives an authenticity to his words about depression and nostalgia, while being accompanied by a much somber sound. So They Left Me at a Gas Station is a Trojan horse. It starts off the record with a bright guitar melody that just evokes fun. It's super peppy and gets you into the mood to move and dance. But it's Evan's first wailing verse that sets you up for the themes you're going to hear from this point on. Hey, I said in my head, you told me to stop talking. My words stayed put obediently, and subsequently, I'm tracing the lines of my spinelessness tonight. I think a lot of people know what it feels like when you're talking to someone and you feel like they don't care and aren't even listening. Even if it's just a coincidence, it's such a perfect way to start off the record with Evan speaking for himself or for the rest of the band, trying to find the courage to say what's on his mind, as if this record is a diary for him and the band members. The first chorus relates to this theme about not feeling important, and possibly the title about being left at a gas station. Have I been forgotten? Oh yeah, I've been forgotten. I don't see the silver lining. I give up on trying. Math rock song structure is interesting in that there typically aren't repeated sections of music. Most commercial music is written in a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus structure. But this song structure is written as a verse, chorus 1, verse, bridge, chorus 2. Marietta writes very dynamic songs that shift tone from beginning to end, and they use these choruses to give these emotionally charged build-ups and outros. As the instruments have built rapidly to the second and final chorus, it ends with this haunting string bend with Ethan shouting over Evan as they sing, "So maybe, I've got a lot to tell you. Forgive me, I don't know where to start." Further reflecting that because Evan and Ethan are going to say a lot on the next 7 songs, they're apologizing in advance because they don't know how to say what they want and they don't want to bore us either. It's these lyrics that are so fun and honest to sing why Marietta writes some knee slappers for choruses, and there are a lot on this record. The second track, Cinco de Mayo Shit Show, is the song that hooked me onto the record the first time I heard it. From Andrew's ridiculously cool drums, Evan's high voice, and more of those jazzy guitar vibes, it is a massive build-up, and it just... Even before I started writing this video, I've always thought that Evan's songwriting was written in a way where he doesn't want you to get the full picture of what he's saying. Some things make sense, some things don't. It's as if he's subliminally telling us the truth. Yet there's a tension his voice has in the song that is very cathartic, and it's as if he's finally getting to say what he couldn't in the last song. Lately it's been getting late and I'm not tired, and no thanks to sleepless nights been burning with desire, so I'll get in my car. When I have felt angry, lonely, bored, or lost, or you can just insert an emotion here, I've gotten in my car and taken a drive. Every time I have taken a drive in the middle of the night because of one of these feelings, they've all been accompanied by an intense surge of motivation to change something. When Evan uses the phrase burning with desire, I feel like he's talking about that feeling of motivation, to get in your car in the middle of the night to almost simulate running away and starting over. That feeling of your soul aching, of yearning for something more. It's a feeling I have felt driving in the middle of the night to this song all too often, and I love this song so much more because of it now. Evan seems very confessional on this track, so much so he sounds like he's frustrated with his friends and that he wants to leave them out of whatever plans he has. But it's the ending chorus where I think Evan reveals his frustration lies in himself the most. If I freak out and crash my fucking car into your house, of course it's personal. Personhood has made me feel this way. Why do things always have to go and change? Be better off if things just stayed the same. I'm getting too old for this shit. I'm throwing fits and acting like a kid again. Evan sounds like he's having a bitter outburst, threatening to spite someone by crashing his car into their house, and he's justifying his feelings because his frustration is pushing him to do it. Yet he sounds apologetic because he knows he's wrong for feeling this way. This reminds me of a time a few years ago when I would do this exact thing. I'd take a lot of my own frustrations out on friends and I'd say hurtful things just to immediately apologize, hoping they'd forgive me. I love this line because yeah, it's super fun to sing, but it further exemplifies the honesty these guys can have with their words. They don't just express how they feel. They self-reflect and are willing to admit to the really deep down, nasty truth about themselves. And it's what makes this song so damn good. Evan's first 2 songs on the record are really energetic with a lot of sad undertones. I mean, come on, it's emo. But his songs are like gritting your teeth through a forced smile because of his lyrical dissonance. Ethan's first track on the record, You've Got the Matt Backwards Matt, is blunt and vulnerable, letting us know everything we need to know about him in the first line. I most definitely probably overanalyzed too much of this song, but I had fun with it, so here's my take. I've always speculated when Ethan says going up north, he's going somewhere like therapy. He will make references about this as well as God later on in the record, so I will touch on that later as well. However, I can't help but notice reflection imagery in this song. From the use of the word backwards in the title and not upside down, which of course could just be a metaphor about being lost, to the line, I've never asked to see lost painted on your forehead looking forward, it's been taunting me for a while. This line is written so well. Not only is Ethan expressing his fear of the future, but whoever he is speaking to reflects his own feelings of existential crisis back at him, and it's as obvious as staring him right in the face. Sort of like them holding the L sign up to call him a loser, but in this case lost. Then in the bridge he mentions noticing his face in the paint. This line has powerful imagery. I imagine Ethan is looking at his reflection in a puddle in the road, like he's watching himself cry. If you've ever caught a glimpse of yourself crying in the mirror, it's a really jarring image to see yourself in such an emotional state. And it seems like Ethan is having this surreal moment of self-awareness about how bad things feel for him emotionally, that he notices the paint, the makeup, the mask he's been putting on for others to disguise his true sadness. He sees past his fake reflection. From the mentions of low feelings sitting in his chest, followed by the line, "It's been black outside for days now," this could mean he's sleeping all day, never seeing the sun, but also that he's seeing the emotional abyss, the darkness. He brings this full circle, ending with the chorus, "Oh, I'm seeing the dreariness of this. Oh, I believe it now, I can't fix this." The song showcases Ethan's poetic contrast in writing style compared to Evan's double feature, and as horribly depressing as it is, it brings a welcome shift in pace and tone. For me, Dantooine is a pretty straightforward track. I can't hold back from being honest with you when I say that this is my least favorite song on Summer Death. Don't get me wrong, I wholly love this record, and this song can still jam, but as someone who has listened to this record more times than he's supposed to take a shit in a year, it's just too damn slow. The band's performance feels everywhere and stagnant at the same time, as if they whipped this up last minute. It's not even the saddest song on the record, but the emotional low it drops you to is exhausting. This messes with the pacing of the record if you listen to it in one sitting, and if you listen to it on its own, it just doesn't have any standout parts because it's lyrically short, and lacks any sort of chorus unlike the entirety of the album. That's it. That's the only time you'll hear me say something bad about this precious darling of mine. Despite this, there are a few lines I could talk about. Like how the first verse opens with Ethan discussing his abuse of alcohol. "My guts are out, they're tired and poor, and I can't break what's more than a habit." Or the tongue-in-cheek reference to the album title. "These hospital rooms knew us better than we knew ourselves. Some are death, some are dead." This is the first time we get this reference to hospitals, or rather Ethan's medical history, something he, again, and I will touch on later. The last verse can be up for interpretation, and I honestly can't give an attempt on this one. But there is this really cool gang shout in the middle of the song that sounds awesome live. I keep thinking that my voice sounds different, and it probably does because I'm recording this at 7 in the morning after downing coffee. Anyway, this leads us to a bit of a welcomed reprieve with God Bless Eric Taylor, an Ethan track that is much more energetic and has much better pacing than Dantooine. The track name could be a reference to the coach in the NBC drama series Friday Night Lights, but I'm not sure. There is an ongoing trend of sports references in the emo genre, but Nate the Mate thankfully already has a video on that. The song starts with a sample from the British comedy Space, where Simon Pegg's character relates wang jangling.
You know, you sort of lying on the sofa watching some porn movie you bought on a drunken, lonely night in Soho, and you're lying there, and everything is really great. You know, you're getting totally turned on by these absurdly graphic images. Everything seems so right, you know, and suddenly, bingo, you know, you wake up.
It's a really funny way to start the song, but it does have some relevancy. The track is what I'll call Marietta's attempt at a party song, or rather the end of a party song. Ethan sings about falling drunkenly asleep with old friends and burning matches, which could be taken literally or metaphorically about smoking something. Then there's a line in the bridge that I think relates back to the Space sample. "I'm waking up all bleary-eyed, and I'm wondering where I should lie, because this couch is making my head feel sore watching my best friend vomit through the door." I think this is Ethan walking in on himself. Waking up in a drunken stupor in the middle of the night, uncomfortable, wondering what just happened. There's a line about Ethan's friend telling him that this is the last time we drink, and then we near the finale of the song with a chorus that I think is about Ethan's inner dialogue about helping his friend. "Come with me, I promise the water is fine. I need something else to convince me that I won't die." I think this line could have three meanings. Ethan references on Matt Backwards Matt he doesn't question God anymore, which could mean he's given up on the notion of believing in God. So the water in this case could be holy water, and by denying it, he's denying God too. It could also mean while trying to coax his friend to drink water after just vomiting, he's admitting he won't take his own advice and saying he needs something else other than water, could be more alcohol, possibly to numb himself from his extensively mentioned depression. Or he's just over-exaggerating that the thought of drinking water when he's hungover would be so bad it would feel like he'd die. I definitely probably got carried away with this one too. Well, whatever. I'm trying to be as quick as possible because I'm doing this in post, and this was just too important to not add. Back in 2016, I was doing some ad research on Marietta because that's what I do. I found this band called Carricks, and this dude had did a tribute song after Ethan, and he used the same chorus and melody as God Bless Eric Taylor. This song is so good. If you're a fan of Marietta, if you just want to listen to something, I really suggest you listen to it. The band doesn't even exist anymore. I've always wanted to share this with fans. I don't even know if people know about this. So if you're a fan of Marietta, please go listen to this because this song just smacks. Ever is a Long Time, Ever is No Time at All is another Evan track, this time about a breakup. If you haven't been annoyed yet by how I like to read way deeper into shit than I need to, I'm going to share an alternative perspective on some of these lines. Mostly because I legitimately thought for the longest time this is what the song was about until listening to it again, then I realized it really is just about being broken up with. So I had to rewrite this a little bit. So, yeah. Hey man, I'm just winging it, and I'm still going through with it, baby. These two lines are on the start of the song, "Wouldn't you rather die than be on my mind? It hurts my head to think about you dead, but I do it all the time." Followed by, "I could be a soul to keep, or I could keep on living soullessly." Could be taken as Evan's spite towards his partner and self-pity about being broken up with. My original idea was Evan is agonizing over the idea of being with this person forever. And it bothers him so much that he imagines this person dying so he can get away from them. And he feels soulless for thinking this way. Yet he still mentions the thought of them dying causing him pain. This is where, upon further consideration, I think this song could also be about self-sabotage. His soul isn't worth keeping forever. The following verse is up for interpretation, possibly his fear of facing life without this person. Then in the fourth verse, he yells this really sarcastic line, "The wind swept you off your feet, it sure as hell wasn't me." It's a line that is very obviously about Evan realizing that he couldn't sweep his partner off their feet because they are leaving him. However, this led me to believe that Evan doesn't want to think it's him they're in love with, that this person will fall in love with anybody, that ever is no time at all to them. The following verse gets weird, where he mentions drowning himself in a river, and as his partner tries to save him from reaching the bottom, he intentionally lets go of their hand. He finishes the verse with, "When I'm gone, I won't forget a single bit of those long gone memories." I like to think that Evan is lying to his partner and is admitting that he's already long forgotten these memories they've shared together. The song ends with a sample from the movie Hot Rod, where Will Arnett's character yells, "Babe, don't go, babe, babe, babe," over this pleading shouted chorus. "Wait, don't go. I'll hold you on my own." When Evan mentions drowning, this could be him drowning in his sorrow of being left. But I like to think the relationship is either drowning him or his personal baggage is drowning him, holding him back from being happy. Evan could be lamenting over the ending of the relationship when he says don't go, but it could also be a sarcastic response, like, "No, don't go, please," in an attempt to keep up the appearance it wasn't his fault the relationship ended. The most tragic interpretation is that he regrets the way he's treated this person, and now that he's finally out of the relationship, he doesn't want to be alone. Chase I Hardly Knew Ya is my absolute favorite song on Summer Death. I love this song so much. In 2016, my fat ass learned it by spending 2 weeks obsessively rewatching Evan's Hands in their acoustic version posted on Table 3 Media's channel. I believe it rivals Cinco de Mayo Shit Show as being the best on the record because this is the closest to Ethan and Evan sharing a whole song. You could argue it's more of an Evan song, but I considered it shared. Ethan's opening line is backed with an acoustic melody that just melts my soul. That thought of yelling at your own flesh to not grow old is so pitiful and helpless. The heart of the song is nostalgia, and it's in perfect placement after the last song to be considered a continuation of Ever is a Long Time. It could be a post-breakup song and a fear of growing old song. Lines like, "So how long is 4 years? It's an eternity, I suppose," and Evan reminding himself that the past is always on my mind, make me think of missing the old days of being in high school, remembering all the stupid things you did and realizing you're out of that stage of your life. This is another one of those lines that could have a double meaning, maybe about remembering an old relationship that's now over. The bridge in this is built in the jazziest fashion Marietta can muster, by bringing out a trumpet performed by their producer Eric, which I lose my mind over every time I hear it. It's just so good. Andrew's drums build so much tension in this shared section where Ethan wants to remind whoever he is missing, "So call me at midnight, or call me anytime. I'm patiently waiting. The past is on my mind." Followed by Evan's line, "I memorized the nuances of conversation held that night. I memorized every detail of your skin. We were spread so thin." The song explodes in the most powerful gang shout we've heard thus far, and again, my favorite chorus off the record.
Could've seen you in the basement, could've seen you in the hall, but it doesn't even matter, 'cause it was nothing at all.
I think this is them trying to explain they could have seen the other person at their shows in basements and halls, but in the end, it doesn't matter. If the song is a continuation of the last, Evan begins to reflect that it was the right choice that the relationship ended. No matter how much he thought they were supposed to be together, they just weren't right for one another. The song ends with Evan in admittance yelling the line, "Nothing that I said to you paints a pretty portrait of us two. We're different shades of blue." My life's an open book, so I'm gonna get real on you again. This song is near and dear to my heart because I can't help but bring up that it reminds me of one of my closest friends, who is also my ex. Bruh. The irony is that, much like the song, we ended it because we began resenting each other because we weren't compatible as a couple. Seems sus, but we have a dog, so. She would say that I'm insane, I would say she's stupid. We listened to this record all the time when she was a freshman in college, and it's still our personal favorite because of that. It's just all happy memories. Alright, let's finish this. Finally, the record is sent off with the 8th song by Ethan, Fuck Dantooine is Big. The song begins with this classic scene from Punch Drunk Love.
I wanted to ask you something because you're a doctor, right?
Yeah.
I don't like myself sometimes. Can you help me?
Barry, I'm a dentist.
It's definitely a funny way to start the saddest song on the record. This is Marietta at their peak, substantially honest, heartbreakingly sad, and their most well-executed song they've released ever in their career, in my opinion. Ethan brings all of his songs full circle, revealing he's been in therapy or some sort of rehabilitation center. This could be the place up north he was headed to, and you've got the map backwards, Matt, or the hospitals in Dantooine. The song is centered around his struggle with depression, second-guessing his progress in mental wellness, and his lack of aid from God. I'm awake feeling nostalgic, those pair of lenses that know my head is still talking. It's a line that makes me think of rose-tinted glasses, that the only time he feels alive is remembering things that have already happened. It could also be his personification of his therapist/doctor as just being a pair of glasses that doesn't actually care about him. When the song reaches the bridge, the band falls silent to only a few soft guitar notes playing over this really clever line by Ethan. I hope you keep fiending over the white and red miserable death pumping in your chest. This is definitely one of my favorite lines off the record because it exemplifies Ethan's macabre style of writing so well. I've always thought this line was Ethan telling anybody listening to keep on persevering and pumping those white and red blood cells in their chest. Until the next line, wasting away any trace of normal blood so the fingers feel drunk, erasing any prospect that life will feel less numb. These are actually Ethan's white and red pills, his medication that will numb him from the pain he feels. The music sounds like an ache at this point, like the sound of giving up. Ben has a bass note that buries itself in your ears as it starts the band back up for the finale. The drums build over an echoing, droning guitar note leading us to Ethan and Evan's last choruses, delivered as if they are reminiscing on every negative they've expressed on the record. We'll make it out, it's been too many days, we're all fed up inside our graves. Followed by, no we won't. I tried enough to know we won't. Give it up, I tried enough, so give it up. This second chorus sounds like Ethan and Evan are arguing with themselves and trying to convince each other all at once that they can but won't get through this. We reach the climax, so it sounds like Ethan sobering up from medication or getting relief from his depression, ending the song with him reminiscing. I'm thinking of a time when everyone was yelling for us to stop being such pests. Andy is outside looking at his insides and Alex moved out west. When you're alone eating your own throat, does it hurt this much to laugh? Talking to yourself in made-up names telling you, we'll be right back. And like that, the record ends quietly. Almost with a whimper. It leaves you like how Ethan must feel. Sad and empty. Left to pick up the pieces. Along with modern baseball, Marietta had gotten a tour with some other notable acts like You Blew It, Braid, Boxing, and Trickett, Trocoat. I'm so sorry, god damn it. They would go on to release their sophomore LP As It Were on August 17th, 2015, and then just a few months later on Christmas Eve, they would release a statement on Facebook that they were breaking up indefinitely. They would play their hearts out to a packed room at their last show at Cat Cat Fest 4 held at Kung Fu Necktie in Philly. And Andrew, Ben, and Evan would start a much more poppy indie band called Nara, which has been defunct since mid-2018. There is no word if Marietta will get back together. If modern baseball sports was the soundtrack to partying with friends, crushing on girls who don't like you back, and trying to find your place in the world as it was happening around you all too fast, the Marietta summer death is what it feels like when all the parties were over. When it's long settled in that a love you had shared isn't there anymore, and when your hope is dwindling deeply away because you cannot bear the weight in your chest from the fear of change, growing up, and moving on in life. I can't do this record justice. I can't just explain these words, their sound, or how deeply personal this record is to me. I can't do it to these videos of them playing live or these images of stupid memes. But I hope I could share a glimpse at least. I can only hope you go and listen to them and experience what I've experienced. In a way, this is me giving back to Marietta. For all the countless nights I have spent listening to Summer Death in my car, screaming the lyrics at the top of my lungs with friends, by myself, crying for Christ's sakes. Growing from 19 to now going on 25, wondering where I was at in life, wondering where I was going, still wondering where the fuck I'm going. Just wandering and wondering to this sad fucking record. I've read comments across Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and YouTube. For a small indie band that only lasted for 4 years, they really are missed. And I think it's because they wrote something so unapologetically sad, yet fun and memorable. Straight from their hearts. I don't know. Thank you so much for watching. Long live Marietta.